My name is Elisa, and for a long time I thought I was weak for not being able to get out, for not being able to say no, for not being able to recognize what was right in front of my eyes. But today I understand that what held me back were not chains. It was the illusion of love, the fear of being alone, and the sweet poison of constant manipulation. I met Kayo when I was 29 years old. I worked in an events agency and was at that stage where everything seemed urgent: getting married, having children, stabilizing myself, being desired, being loved. It appeared as a pause in the chaos. An older man, centered, charming, with that calm manner of someone who seemed to have lived 1,000 lives. He looked at me as if he saw me from the inside, as if he knew exactly where I hurt. And maybe he knew. We met at a corporate event. He was the guest of one of the brands I attended. He wore a light dress shirt, without a single wrinkle, and spoke softly, paused, always looking me in the eyes for too long. It made me feel important, special, different. "You have a rare energy," he said the first night we were alone. I smiled, not knowing what to answer, because no one had ever said that about me, and I wanted to believe that it was true. The start was almost perfect. He sent me flowers at work. He made a point of looking for me even when I said I didn't need it. He made plans. He said he saw a future with me. He introduced me to his friends as the woman I asked God for. And when I started to doubt myself, as I always did, he would look at me deeply and say, "You are so much more than you think you are. You just need to trust me." And I trusted. I trusted him when he started suggesting that I quit my job because my job was too stressful. "You are always tired, Elisa. They exploit you. You don't need that. I can take care of you." I trusted him when he started to get annoyed with my friends. "Camilla just pulls you down. You always come back badly from encounters with her. She's jealous of you, love." I trusted him even when he started criticizing my clothes. "This skirt is too short. You don't even notice how men look at you. But I see, and I don't like it." At first, it seemed careful, an almost romantic zeal. But over time, I started to feel minor, as if I had to justify myself for existing, as if everything in me needed to be molded, and he molded. First came the small withdrawals: work, friendships, clothes. Then, the silences, the expressions of disappointment, the way he looked at me as if I had failed, even without saying a word. I found myself apologizing for things I didn't even understand. Sometimes he would disappear for hours, and then say he was thinking about whether it was worth continuing. Other times he said that I was unbalanced, that I imagined things, that I was very sensitive. One day he said to me, with all the calmness in the world, "You need to go to therapy, because you create problems where there is none. I love you, but you need to fix yourself." And that's how he made me believe that the problem was me. I started therapy, yes, but instead of talking about him, he talked about me, about how insecure I was, about how I ruined good things, about how I should improve to be worthy of someone as good as Kayo. In therapy, I cried without knowing why. At home, I smiled at him, as if everything was fine, until one day, I found a conversation on his cell phone with a woman. Nothing explicit, just a heart emoji, a deleted answer. When I asked, he laughed. He really laughed. "Are you crazy? Are you going to start watching me now? Is that what you've become, Elisa?" That night, I apologized for being suspicious, for invading his privacy, because it is so unstable. And him, he said he forgave me, that he loved me despite my outbursts, that I was going to stay there for me. I cried in the shower, curled up on the floor, feeling ashamed of myself, because it is difficult to live in an oppression of manipulation, where everything you do is a reason for fights, and the agent feels exhausted and depressed. But I went back to bed. I lay next to him, and for the first time, I felt afraid of being alone with someone. But I continued. I continued because I no longer knew who I was without him. And that's where the second part begins. After that night, something inside me changed, but I still didn't have the courage to admit it. I wanted him so badly to be the person I knew in the beginning that I started accepting versions of him that hurt me, as long as they felt like love. Kayo became a silent and unpredictable presence, sometimes sweet, almost childish. In others, cold as stone. I never knew which version of him I would meet when I woke up. This left me on constant alert, as if my life were a dance on eggs, all the time trying not to provoke an outbreak, a criticism, a withdrawal. But what really confused me was how much he could change his mood out of nowhere. One morning he hugged me, said he loved me, and in the afternoon he didn't respond to my messages. And if I asked what happened, he would roll his eyes and say I was suffocating. "You need to calm down. I'm a man, Elisa, not your emotional plaything." It was always like this. I felt, reacted, and it decreased. And that made me doubt what I felt, as if I was exaggerating, as if it was always my fault for taking things too seriously. I stopped looking for reasons. I began to accept the climate, the silence, the disappearances, as if they were natural. Gradually, I was disconnecting from myself. My friends came to me less and less. My family asked about me, but I said I was busy. I lied, not because I wanted to, but because it pained me to admit the truth. I wasn't happy. And worse, I didn't know if I could leave anymore. One day, he took me for a weekend in Paradis, one of those beautiful, historic places that I always wanted to visit. When we arrived, everything seemed perfect. He rented a charming chalet, booked a dinner, opened a wine, and for a few hours, I allowed myself to believe that there was still love there. But on the second day, while I was taking a picture of the sunset alone on the porch, he appeared behind me and asked, "Who are you sending this to?" I laughed, thinking it was a joke, but he didn't laugh, and what came after was an absurd discussion. He said that I flirted with men on Instagram, that I was showy, that I posted photos to get attention. I tried to explain myself. I tried to show that there was nothing special, but he was decided, and when he decided, nothing changed. "You are an empty woman. It feeds on likes because there's nothing inside." I didn't cry at the time. I was in shock, but that night, I slept facing the opposite side. And only then did I realize how alone I was with him, how much he needed to destroy me emotionally to stay in control. The next day, he woke up smiling, as if nothing had happened. "Do you want coffee in bed, my love?" he said. I said yes, and it was there that I realized. I no longer knew who I was without his approval. I was the Elisa molded by him, and not the real Elisa. I came back from the trip with a lump in my throat. I spent weeks feeling like a shadow of myself, but for some reason, I still hoped that he would go back to being that man from the beginning, the one who made me feel seen, special, protected, but he never returned. Instead, other accusations came, other fights, other moments when he disappeared and then came back as if nothing had happened. And worse, when he returned, he said that I should thank him for still being there. "Any other man would have left you by now. I'm too patient with you." And I believed it, because I was emotionally exhausted, because he made me doubt myself so much that I could no longer trust my own memories. But it was on any given night, months later, that the first snap happened. I was alone, ironing, and I heard an old song on the radio. It was a song I listened to long before him, before Caio, before all that emotional confusion, and for a second, I found myself smiling, as if I had remembered who I was first of all. It was just a second, but it was real, and that scared me, because it showed me how much I had disappeared, how much that light, spontaneous, funny woman had erased herself to fit into his world. That night, I wrote in secret in an old notebook, "I need to come back to myself, even if it's gradually," but I still didn't have the strength, and the worst was yet to come, the betrayal that wasn't just carnal, it was the ultimate destruction of trust. What I feared most happened on a Tuesday night. It was any ordinary day, with no sign of anything great. I was at home alone, because Caio said he would have an important and long meeting. I didn't even bother to ask more. I had already learned that if I insisted, he would accuse my unhealthy jealousy. So, I kept quiet, but something about that night made me uneasy. The way he left in a hurry, how he avoided looking me in the eyes, how he didn't even say goodbye properly. I felt empty, so I decided to do something I had never done. I took his notebook, which he had left open, just to check the calendar, I told myself, just to understand if such a meeting really existed. But what I found was much worse. A WhatsApp web tab was active, and there were messages, dozens of them, with a woman named Renata, one that he told me he barely knew, that she was just a colleague from an old company. But there she was, and there he was, exchanging intimate messages, inside jokes, travel plans. There were printouts of hotel reservations, audios in which he said, "I want to wake up with you," One of them, in fact, was sent that morning. The ground disappeared. I was shaking so much I couldn't even breathe. My hands were sweating. My face burned. I kept reading, rereading, as if at some point I could find a different explanation. But there wasn't. Everything was clear. He was cheating on me. For months. And worse, with an affection that he no longer had for me. I saw myself there, standing there, listening to my panting in the silence of the house. I felt like screaming, to break everything. But what I did was sit on the floor for hours, hugging my legs, trying to understand where I got lost. How could I not see? How could I allow? When he arrived around 11 p.m., he came in whistling. He came to kiss me, but I pulled away. He only said, "I saw it all, Kayo." He stopped. He frowned. He was silent for a few seconds. And then, as if he had been trained, he replied with absurd coldness, "Did you invade my privacy?" No excuses. No shock. No guilt. I opened his notebook, yes. And I saw the messages, the reservations, everything. He snorted. He ran his hand over his face. And with a cynical tone, he fired, "Is that what you do when you're alone? Do you keep poking around in the lives of others? You betrayed me, Kayo." "No. I looked for affection where you weren't giving me anymore. This is different." The words cut me like a knife. It was as if he said, "It's your fault for cheating." And in that instant, I knew he would never apologize. He would never recognize the harm he caused. That night, he went to sleep as if nothing had happened, and I stayed in the room, sitting, shrunken, with her eyes open until daybreak. A part of me died that night, the part that still believed there was something to save. In the following days, he did what he always did. He denied it, then minimized it, then reversed it. He said that it was just a conversation, that nothing happened, that I was distorting everything. And when he realized that I was broken, he started to be affectionate. He made breakfast. He bought flowers. He said he loved me, that I was everything to him. But the wound was already too open. What hurt me most was not the betrayal itself. It was realizing that I had erased myself so much that I didn't even have the strength to ask him to leave, that even with all the pain, a part of me still thought I needed him. And then came the saddest point. I forgave. Not really, but I stayed, swallowed. I started to pretend it didn't hurt, smiling on the outside while on the inside I died a little more every day. I stayed because I thought it was too late to start over. I stayed because he said that without him, I wouldn't know what to do with my life. I stayed because he convinced me that I wasn't enough for anyone else. But something inside me was no longer the same. I looked at myself in the mirror and saw a look that I didn't recognize, an emptiness that only grows when we betray ourselves to please those who destroy us. It was in this void that I began, in silence, to plan my escape. After the discovery of the betrayal, I thought the worst was over. But I was wrong. What came after was more subtle, more cruel, more silent. And that's where the danger lies. When the pain mixes with the relief of still having someone by your side. When we pretend we're getting over it, but inside we're still begging for crumbs of affection. In the days following the betrayal, Kayo seemed transformed. She called me my queen, took me to dinner, wanted to talk about the future. He said he was thinking about marriage, that he had made mistakes, but that he never loved me as much as he does now. And even with my heart in pieces, a part of me wanted to believe, because admitting that it was all a lie from the beginning, it was unbearable. "I need to win you back, Elisa. Give me this chance," he said, his eyes full of rehearsal. And I gave in. Not because he trusted, but because I still felt too small without him. I smiled again in the photos, posting optimistic captions, to invent for others that we were in a better phase. I tried to believe it myself, but all it took was a cross look, a prolonged silence, and everything in me would crumble again. He disappeared again for hours, turning his face when I cried, to accuse me of being too emotional, too dramatic, too needy. "Are you still mulling over this?" "I've already apologized, Elisa. Do you want to punish me forever?" But he had never really apologized. He never looked me in the eye with regret. He never took responsibility. He just piled up empty words about repeated attitudes. And the most painful thing was to see that, even so, I was still there. It was during this period that I began to develop physical symptoms: insomnia, tachycardia, crying for no reason, difficulty concentrating. I lived with my heart racing, my muscles tense, as if I was always preparing for the next invisible blow. The therapist said that I was in a constant state of alert. My body knew I was in danger, even when my mind still wanted to believe I wasn't. I remember a specific day. We were on a family anniversary. Everyone was smiling, music was low, cake was on the table, and I, sitting next to him with a glass in my hand, felt invisible. He barely touched me. He talked to everyone but me, and when I tried to start a conversation, he just said, "You push too hard, Elisa. Relax a little." That stopped me inside. I spent the rest of the night silent, pretending that everything was fine. When we got home, I went straight to the bedroom. I cried silently in the bathroom. Again, it was there, kneeling on the cold floor, that something inside me began to scream. A voice that I had silenced for months. A voice that said, "Enough." But leaving was not simple. I felt like I was trapped in an emotional maze. And every time I found a way out, he appeared with a beautiful gesture, a calculated caress, and made me retreat. "You won't find anyone who can stand you, Elisa. I'm the only one who understands you." That phrase echoed in my ears. It made me feel that maybe it was true, that I really was hard to love. Until, one Sunday, my mother came to visit me. She looked at me deeply, held my hand, and said, "I miss who you were. That Elisa who laughed out loud, who spoke with her hands, who invented fashion. Where did it end up?" I didn't know what to answer. Because, at that moment, I realized that even I didn't know who Elisa was anymore. After my mother left, I stared in the mirror for hours. I watched my eyes blacked out, my body shrunk, my expression tired, and a brutal truth hit me. I was trying to save a relationship that was slowly killing me. It was on that night that, for the first time, I secretly researched emotional abuse, about relationships with narcissists, and everything fell into place. The cycles, the blame reversed, isolation, the control, the manipulations, the promises, the relapses. Caio was not just a difficult man. He was toxic and dangerous, because I knew exactly how to keep myself close, even when it destroyed me. I started writing letters to myself, letters that he hid inside books. In one of them, I wrote, "If one day you want to leave, remember this. You are not crazy, you are being deceived, and you deserve to come home, even if it takes time." But I still didn't have the strength. I still retreated. Because getting out of a cycle like this doesn't happen in a burst. It happens in silences, in small awakenings, in pains that accumulate until they no longer fit. And the limit was coming. It took a few more weeks before the final snap happened. And it wasn't with a fight, nor with an open betrayal. It was with a small gesture. Simple, but that exposed, in a definitive way, everything he was, and everything I stopped being close to him. It was a cloudy afternoon. I was on the couch reading a book a friend had given me, one of the few bonds I still had outside of our closed world. Caio came home from work, dropped the keys at the counter, and when he saw me there, commented, "You're very thoughtful. That's not good." "I'm just reading," I replied, lowering my eyes, feeling that usual discomfort, as if I needed to explain myself for existing. "This book is from that friend of yours, right? The one who didn't like me. Maybe that's why you're distant." I took a deep breath. I didn't answer, but something inside me simply hung up, as if I didn't have any more energy to argue, not even to please, not even to justify it. For the first time, I didn't want to convince him of anything, nor fight. I just got up, went to the bedroom, closed the door, and sat on the bed with the book on my lap. My eyes were dry, and that scared me. Why not cry? It was new. That night, I took a shower calmly. I put on an old pajama. The ones he said made me sloppy. I lay alone, and for the first time in a long time, I slept soundly. I woke up different. It wasn't strength yet, but it was clarity. And clarity sometimes is the first step of courage. I started planning quietly. I went back to talking to my therapist about leaving. I started to keep money in a hidden envelope. I called my sister and asked for help without telling her everything. Just enough. I applied for a job vacancy that I found by chance, even though I didn't think I would be called. I made a new email. I created a silent group with myself, with only phrases and memories that gave me strength. During this time, Caio did not notice anything. Or maybe I realized and thought that, as always, I wouldn't have the courage to go all the way. Until the day came. It was an ordinary morning. He went out to solve something at the bank. I already had my bags packed. A backpack with documents, basic clothes, a notebook with my notes and the letter I had written months before. I locked the door. I took a deep breath, and I left. I went to my sister's house. I was silent for 2 days, without answering messages, without opening social networks, alone, breathing. On the third night, he called me, several times. Then he sent messages, the same as always. Are you going to throw it all away like this? You need help, Elisa. No one will love you like I do. I didn't answer any. The following week, he showed up at my sister's work door, crying, with flowers, with promises. And it was there that I realized that I had become another, because he no longer scared me, nor pity, no doubt, alone, empty. I asked him to step aside. He said that if he insisted, I would have to take legal action. He laughed, mocked, but left. And I knew that was my victory. Not because he left, but because I didn't go with him. Life afterwards was not magical. I had relapses. I missed him. Not him, but the idea of love he pretended to give me. I was ashamed to have stayed so long. I had bouts of guilt, but little by little I rebuilt. I went back to work, going out alone, laughing without fear, to look at myself in the mirror and see a woman, not perfect, but whole, a woman who almost disappeared, but that he returned. Today I understand that loving someone cannot mean disappearing into the other, that care is not to be confused with control, and that those who love do not destroy the self-esteem of the other to feel greater. Caio left me scars, yes, but they are no longer open wounds. They are the reminder of everything I survived. And if you're listening to that and feeling small, confused, guilty, no, it's not you who is wrong. You're just trapped inside a story that doesn't deserve to take you. And maybe today, I can't get out, but you can start to remember who you were before you shut up. And one day, you also leave, and he will return home for yourself.